Alright, this video came out about 5 years ago, which might as well be 30 years ago in internet time. Ancient history, as it were. So for those of you who aren't aware of it, I'm going to play it, and then we'll get into discussing a bunch of different things based off of what Lil Uzi Vert says here. Oh, and before I hit play on this, for those of you who are used to there being no profanity in my videos, he does drop a few F-bombs in these videos, which I just wanted to make you aware of in case you have somebody listening that would be expecting that, and it would shock them. So, that aside, prepare yourself for that. Here we go.
Before everybody starts screaming and saying, oh, like I told y'all earlier, you motherfuckers enter the rapture. And if ain't nobody flying up to heaven right now, obviously all y'all motherfuckers going to hell. Right with me. So, let's get it. Oh, you already here. I'm so sorry. You can't get out. You're stuck. It's over. You heard the song a million times and you didn't even know. That's up, but I still love you. Hold on, let me
Okay, that's the first video. And then the next one here is a live he did where someone posed the same question to him. Hey, did you sell your soul? And this is Lil Uzi Vert's response.
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out.
I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out. Remember that.
Talking about I sold my soul for you. For all you motherfuckers that's on here, that's asking me did I sell my soul, why the fuck is y'all on here if y'all think I sold my soul? Y'all coming right with me, you dummies.
Y'all coming right with me, you dummies. I've actually never heard an actor, celebrity, politician, influencer of any kind on that scale tell the truth in such a clear and direct way. To the point where I'm surprised that this isn't referenced more. The problem, of course, is they have kind of turned the quote-unquote Illuminati into a business marketing tactic in hip-hop, where all of this quote-unquote satanic symbolism is used to sell downloads and records. And then, as a function of that, you have this whole underground YouTube scene that analyzes it all and is constantly looking at the latest videos and the latest lyrics to their songs and deconstructing them in the way where you would point at them and say, oh, look, they're in the club. They're telling us. It's obvious. And that's an issue because they've always been doing that for people with quote-unquote eyes to see, and then they just kind of embraced it when it became well-known and turned it into a marketing tactic. Really in the same way that they do it in the conspiracy scene. But we'll get more into that as we go here. I wanted to focus again on what he says in the beginning right here. And I'll play it again just to refresh your memory.
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out.
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out. Well, it's really easy to figure out when you put it in the context of what he said on stage in the first recording that I played. The unaware mind hears him say that and they think, oh, he sold his soul for me, meaning he sold his soul to get fans who would give him power, wealth, celebrity status, everything that comes along with that. Everything that they gloat about in the perverse way that they gloat about all the material items that they are able to possess by being famous. What he really means is, I sold my soul for you, meaning I made this deal with that which is in control here, or at least with representatives of that which is in control here on this planet. I made that deal to acquire those things, and what I am giving in exchange is you. You see, I'm giving you to it. In other words, I sold my soul for you. Figure that out. Well, that's what he's trying to say. He's being very condescending because he knows that the unaware mind isn't able to see it. They aren't able to process it, which is why in the other recording of him on stage, he openly says that, hey, if this was the rapture, I don't see any of you going up into heaven. You're all right here with me. No, you're coming with me. And that's kind of what he says at the end here. No, you're coming with me, dummy. What do you think? You're going to be saved because you can't see what's really going on here? No, you're coming right with me. And he's very condescending, calling people dummies, but that is the mentality that they all have. Every politician, member of Congress, prime minister, actor, celebrity, sports star, on the level that these entities get to, they have the same disdain for us. But anyway, a lot of people are going to have problems going forward in this video because of the words that I'm going to use, but understand that I'm just using those words for ease of communication. You can label this whatever you want to. I'm going to use the word Satan for that which is in control here for ease of communication. And when you put everything in the context that Lil Uzi Vert put it in here with what he said, everything falls right into place. Knowing that he made that agreement, he is a representative of Satan, speaking on its behalf here. That is exactly what everything we see around us is designed to do. Hey, if I'm stuck here, I'm taking as many of you with me as I can. That's the goal. And as a part of that now, I'm going to engage in my own form of alleged disclosure. I'm going to give you guys the truth about what's really going on in my own controlled way. And you guys are so stupid and so dumb that you're going to not only think that you're winning, that you're somehow coming out ahead on top of me, but in that process of the controlled disclosure, I'm going to make you a willing participant that's coming right along with me, all the way to the end. A lot of the news, especially in early 2024 here, is focusing on disclosure in this way. You just had the recent Katt Williams interview where he allegedly exposed a lot of stuff. And the most important thing that came out of that was a response video by Mike Epps, who's also a comedian. And he was joking around with Katt Williams saying, hey, I thought we were boys. You do a 3-hour interview and you don't even mention me one time. I have a special coming out. I need the promotion. What are you doing, man? Come on. And he made light of it, but he also told the truth about the situation. That's what it's designed for. It's for the drama of it. If you think Katt Williams is against the system, you're out of your mind. I mean, how many times in that interview did he repeat the fact that he has 12 one-hour-long specials over 24 years in the industry? And yet he pretends to be independent and somehow not sanctioned? He's best friends with Shaq. Okay? You guys got to open your eyes here. This is not disclosure of any meaningful kind. It's drama. And everybody who was mentioned in that video automatically becomes at the forefront of everyone's mind. And they're getting clicks and likes and shares. Everybody's talking about them, which produces money, yes, but also gets you sucked into the drama as well. And they do the exact same thing in the conspiracy scene. This is why all of your favorite YouTubers over the years have focused on creating drama and beef with other YouTubers. And they'll go on these scripted seasons, let's call them, of beefs, where 3 or 4 months they'll have videos back and forth. They raise a bunch of controversy. They raise a bunch of interest in the streams that are going back and forth or the videos that are going back and forth. And then it all dies down and they pretend like it never happened and they move on to the next. Or you have YouTubers who don't engage in any of that. They just come right out and make it their whole channel to just tear people down, make fun of them, call them names, all the silly stuff that a high school bully would do, right? And that's the whole point of their channel, is to create that drama, to drive hate into people's hearts. And yeah, you might be laughing at some of this stuff, but the root of it is hating. You're a hater, right? That's the energy they're trying to bring out of you. And I made that kind of innocent by bringing up the idea of a hater. But no, very literally, they're trying to put hate into your heart. It's very sinister. As one of the first to ever do it, Alex Jones is identical in function to Lil Uzi Vert or anyone like him. They do the same thing. It's identical. It's just in completely different spheres of influence. Alex Jones is bringing you right down with him. In the same way that all these other clones on YouTube are doing it to you as well. But you don't know it. Alex Jones and everyone like him made the same agreement with the same entity that Lil Uzi Vert did. But you never think of it along those lines because of how often they say that they are against what Satan, quote unquote, is trying to achieve here. Part of this is the idea of getting you sucked into decoding things and pretending like that is somehow going to save you or make you different in the end. If you watch movies 24/7, decode them all with the hidden messages that are in there, and then present that as if, oh, if you just know this, then you'll be fine. No big deal. You'll be spared. You're not coming with everyone else. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. But they're clever with how they do that, right? They create new ideological movements that seem so different. I'm thinking, for example, of Syncromysticism, this alleged new religion of sorts, which emerged following 9/11, where the entire purpose of it is to make you think that all of this stuff is some kind of coincidental thing happening in the collective subconscious mind of all these artists and directors who are producing these movies. And they're not even in control of it. They're just tapping into something that just shows up. And that was the entire goal of that psyop, was to promote that idea. But at the same time, they're normalizing this lifestyle of smoking weed all day, every day, watching movies, doing other psychedelics, reading all of the usual suspects like Robert Anton Wilson and people like that who kind of normalize the occult as if it's nothing to be afraid of, and really it's just ancient wisdom wrapped up in a new package that they had to hide because of how controversial it was. It's funny, I listened to a podcast of people into this sort of thing, and they were discussing how Lana Del Rey was this new version of what they were using to awaken the public. And that's another idea they promote, that pop culture is going to awaken humanity. I'm cracking up. This is hilarious. What a ridiculous idea. But they do this whole thing about everything that's symbolic in her discography and everything that's symbolic in everything she produces, really. And how she's kind of the new pop culture messiah that was preceded by David Bowie. And that whole analysis goes on, and no one points out the obvious, that Lana Del Rey is an anagram for anal light. Think about that for a second. Del Rey, of light. Lana. It's not that hard to see. Tie that into everything else that's going on in the world, okay? What do these people do? It's not that hard to figure out. And they're, in the next breath, telling you that this is somehow going to enlighten you or give you some kind of wisdom, okay? The same thing's going on with Gematria and sports betting now. oh, I'm going to decode what the quote-unquote Illuminati is doing with all these sporting events, how they script them, and I'm going to use that knowledge to bet on sports. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but gambling on sports in that way, you're doing exactly what Lil Uzi Vert's talking about. You're listening to the music, not aware of what it's doing to you. You're not aware that it's taking you with it. That's no different than what any of the quote-unquote sheep are doing. You're just at a different level. One step up on the staircase. Or in this case, one step down. And obviously this relates to what's going on in the news with Jeffrey Epstein as well. You got to see that for what it is. That's something that's functioning on multiple layers. First of all, has anyone been prosecuted at all? Anyone at all since this news broke? No, there has not been one single prosecution. In fact, the people working at the jail, the two men who were in charge of keeping an eye on his cell, were just recently acquitted and found to have done nothing wrong because they weren't paying attention like they should have, and they falsified records saying that they were. Not a single person has been charged with anything as a result of these quote-unquote revelations. Not a single client has been confirmed as a result of these revelations. The only thing that's been leaked is who has been on the plane. And then you have to place that fact in the context of Donald Trump and the QAnon movement that tied into Pizzagate before it, and understand that this list coming out now, the newer updated version of it, this emboldens that QAnon movement that centered its entire existence on the idea that there is this deep state cabal of pedophiles who rape children and drink their blood. That has been the primary thing driving QAnon. That's what it always comes back to. And now they have extra added ammunition going into this next election cycle with all the other stuff they have planned for Donald Trump. That will embolden the people who still haven't seen through what QAnon really is. They'll say, look, they're proving what we've been saying now out in the open. And then in the way that they script these things, they're kind of pushing and pulling that narrative with what they're telling everybody who still listens to mainstream news, which is the whole domestic terrorist angle that I've been getting into in all the other videos on that subject. That's one layer. And then another additional layer is the fact that there is now an ex-Mossad agent, allegedly. I mean, we got to treat that the same way we would treat an alleged ex-CIA agent, who has come out and stated in an interview that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent working for Israel, blackmailing politicians on behalf of Israel. And that kind of levels up this whole QAnon narrative into an international idea that will be seized on by all kinds of different organizations. Really, anybody who doesn't have Western media. That's going to become common knowledge. They're going to now view everyone who leads the Western world. I mean, this is going on in America, Europe, Britain, Prince Andrew, Israel. It's the whole Western quote-unquote world. You don't think this is all going to be circulated by the Iranian press, everyone else in the Middle East, China, Russia? That's going to become common knowledge. And it's going to be a very effective undercurrent that is sort of chipping away at the legitimacy of the current existing world order, which is a very convenient development when you're trying to create a new world order, right? You see? But at the same time, that narrative is promoted. Nothing actually happens. No one actually goes to jail. There is no movement on it at all. And indeed, the operation is probably still taking place in whatever way it does that hasn't been exposed yet. And they just kind of give you this thing that you can focus all of your energy on and pick a side with. And speaking of picking sides, there's that whole undercurrent in the United States of America currently. I mean, this is global as well, but specifically in America, you have this portion of the left-leaning population that is supporting Palestine in this war that's going on with Israel. And when this information comes out, that will add fuel to that movement, which is further destabilizing the United States of America internally. Which again is another part of the agenda to bring America down many levels so that it's equal with the rest of the world. And interestingly, in the newer information that's been leaked, there's more information about President Trump than previously was contained in the disclosures, because before he painted himself as someone who, oh yeah, I knew Epstein, I took pictures with him, but then they sold this narrative in QAnon circles that as soon as he found out, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and he broke off all contact with him. And now there's information that's sort of contradicting that, which will be wedged into the presidential election narrative going forward. And again, I don't know how that script will unfold, but you can see how they're giving little pieces to each side through this story. And I was talking about the Katt Williams disclosure earlier, and that played into it as well, because he even mentioned Chris Tucker at one point being on that plane with Epstein and Clinton and going to Africa, which will add more lore to the whole thing that's going on here. And people mistakenly view that as Katt Williams being against the system when they hear him say something like that. It's like, no, that was a well-placed nugget of information in the context of everything else that's going on. And then that ties into what just happened to Aaron Rodgers, where he got kicked off of the McAfee show for the rest of the season because of what he said about Jimmy Kimmel in relation to Epstein and this whole story. And then the USA Today ran an op-ed calling Aaron Rodgers a kook, a conspiracy theorist. He's lost all of his credibility because he believes these misinformation stories on the internet. And then they tie him in the role he's playing, similar to the role that Donald Trump is playing. It's a similar character. The heel. But only if you're in the perspective of the mainstream news, right? He's not the heel if he's being looked at from the perspective of a QAnon adherent. From a QAnon adherent's perspective, he's a hero telling the truth. And they've got people so dug into those two sides that it's creating the pressure that's going to eventually release in whatever event they have scripted along these lines. They're creating the plausible backstory here. And what is it all for? Well, Lil Uzi Vert told you in a very honest and direct way. He told you what it's for. All of this is to get you sucked into some part of it so that you are coming with them, dummy, right? To make you so arrogant that you think you've overcome it. It's like, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, in a month or so, the next Super Bowl will be taking place, and there will be hundreds of videos and TikToks decoding the satanic quote-unquote symbolism of the Super Bowl. And it's kind of like, okay, that's great if you do that one time and you see it, and then you never watch it again. But how many people is this the 10th Super Bowl they're going to do this for? What were you doing on that day? How many things were you doing that went against what God dictated we should be doing with our lives? Just in that one day, how many things did you do? And these are the questions people aren't asking. Or I shouldn't say all people, most people involved in the scene I'm talking about here are not asking these questions. They all made those deals for us, to take us with them. We are the prize. We are the souls that they take with them. That's their job. And yeah, I guarantee every last one of them is going to lay their head down on their pillow one night and realize they've made a huge mistake. And at that point, they feel trapped, like they can't do anything. And a part of doing a video like this is to kind of get at what I was getting into in a prior recording, where we need to keep that space open to allow people to come forward without crucifying them in the process. That's a lot of what's holding them back. Yeah, there's dangers to them coming forward with certain truths. But if enough of us are holding that space as a sort of protection for them, it would happen a lot more often than it does. And it would happen in a genuine way as opposed to the controlled, scripted way that I was getting into here. And really, that's the whole point, right? You have this holier than thou mentality where you point your finger at somebody like Lil Uzi Vert and say, oh man, he's evil. I can't believe what he did. And his point to you is, bro, you're doing the exact same thing. You think you're not coming with me? Wake up, man. You're listening to my music. Just that alone is changing the very essence of your being. The frequency that we put into this music that you're completely unaware of changes the very essence of who you are in the moment that you're listening to it. And that carries on because it gets stuck in your head and it does all kinds of things you're not aware of. There are YouTubers who are in open rebellion against God. They say God is evil. Everything about this place is evil. Your very life is evil. They're in open rebellion against God. Well, tell me this. Who or what else is in open rebellion against God? Satan, right? So you have to really start to see what's going on here. Do you think making videos every day about how evil this place is and how evil God is the way? I mean, really think about that. Think about how you're doing the exact same thing as that fallen angel did to get kicked out and banished here in the first place, at least how the story goes in the biblical context. Again, put whatever label you want on it. I sold my soul for you. Very important to understand what he meant by that. See the patterns. See how that pattern is everywhere, in everything that you see. Okay? I promise you that will help you see the truth more clearly. Okay, that's it for now. Later.